So this is the first half of our driveway. And then sometime this week, we're going to have a big parking pad down here on the bottom. That goes pretty much back to that tree there. And then over to there. So it's going to be like 40 feet by 30 feet big once it's all done. So another addition to the property is our new trash cans. They are supposedly German-made barrels that used to hold cheese. But we got them for 20 bucks each, and they're really heavy duty and have clamp-on lids. So they make perfect trash cans for out here.
You see, we're almost to the place on the property where our oxen died. We had to pull the dang cart ourselves. And here are the ruts to show our pain. I present you the Oregon Trail.
So it rained really heavy 2 days ago. And as you can tell, we really needed the moisture. And our property is just extra squish. This is much better than it was yesterday. But we were hauling a wagon to the back of the property. And it seemed to have made a few ruts, and we've named it the Oregon Trail. Our property pretty much looks like a hurricane came through and just kind of ruined it at this point. We were doing lots of trenching yesterday. But as you can kind of maybe tell, our spring is actually flowing. These are our shed ramps that we've been using as bridges. Quite handy. But we were able to successfully trench through all these roots here. As you can tell, the water's still flowing. Yesterday we couldn't even stand on the ground I'm standing on. So it's definitely drying out the property. But at the cost of making a giant mess. So back from where we were, the trench goes all the way down here. So you can see it's flowing quite well. Alright, so we're back at the back of the property. These are the fire bricks for our fire pit. Me and Emily were hauling in the wagon, just a few at a time, and the road is about 500 feet the other direction that we had to haul them from. We managed to do a little bit of clearing the other day so we can actually see the river. And then there's another path over there to the river. But hopefully today we can clear out quite a bit more back here and really open this space up to kind of see how far back it goes. So here's a much better view of the river. We might get back there and clear some of these branches just to kind of open it up a little bit more back here. But as you can see, the property goes nice up to it here, and it's going to just be really awesome once we get it all cleared up a bit more. We just cleared some more of the brush back here. Got a pile going on. And we got our fire pit assembled. Just nice and right by the river. The driveway is now big enough for the van to park on. And then our plan eventually will be to continue the road that way, past the shed, and leave this as a nice area for parking. We got our shed up on cinder blocks, and we got the roof all sealed up around all the screws. We just had to hide in there and made sure it's not leaking any water. And then around this side, we have the extra hang-off that we're using for our new barrel trash cans. And back here, quite a bit of progress since last time. Trench has been being dug out a ton. Almost all by Emily here. Going back. So we're just making it deeper to hopefully dry out the ground around it a bit more. Right here's in the previous video where I got stuck and like sank my boot, and it's decently firm ground now. Oh, and what we thought was a spring over here was definitely just water running off the property. It had completely dried up. And it's running a little bit now that it just rained, but definitely not another spring. This is our new trail to the back of the property. So there's the back area of what we have cleared so far. So the river goes back that way and we haven't cleared all that out. But up front here, we've cleared quite a bit. There's our fire pit, one of the many brush piles. And we were able to clear all along the river right there. So yeah, nice open views to the river finally along the back. So there's our two big pine trees we knew about when we bought the place. We lost where they were and finally found them. But yeah, we cleared this direction this weekend. This was kind of like a meadow, which made it a little easier to clear out a lot of this. The river's back through that area, which we actually cleared along the riverbank. Just a thin little path with the brush cutter, so we could see what we had. We discovered these are what we believe to be black raspberries, which I didn't even know was an actual plant. So we've been clearing like back to where Emily is. That direction is basically along the property line towards the front driveway. See, I cleared this a week ago, so it's a bunch of dead stuff that needs raked out of here. But as you can see, it goes kind of just along the river to the back there, but still have tons more to clear out, all this junk. We were pretty much just trying to find where our property lines were. It's just all junk like that. I don't know what they are, willows or something. They're terrible. But as you can see, it's just super dense. We've been just cutting. The pink flags are the property line here. And the property line just goes up through there. Yeah, we actually didn't even know we had this giant pine tree on the property, so that thing's pretty cool. We're gonna try to just trim some of its lower branches and leave it alone because it's awesome. But yeah, none of this ground back here in the back is mushy at all. So this is all very buildable area of the property. Might even pass the perk test. We'll have to see, but we're basically gonna keep clearing along the back property line here towards the front to kind of see where it gets mushy, so we can kind of get an idea for how much space is actually usable. We've been pleasantly surprised this weekend in our discoveries that only a really small part of the property is actually swampy. It's just kind of right in the dead center where you have to cross to get to this back area. But honestly, that worked in our favor. That's why this property was so cheap. The realtor didn't even come back to this back part. He didn't even know there was the real river back here. He thought the whole thing was a swamp and listed it as such. So yeah, that way goes towards that trench. Through there is to the driveway. And then that way there is towards that area I was just showing that we cleared out. And then that brown dead trail along the river is pretty much our property line along the river there. So between that, we're gonna wipe all that out and open this whole area up. Property update. I think it's been a month since we did our last video.
Probably.
I think it was August 1st. Yes. Legs are beat up.
Other one.
Emily wore pants. Our wood pile is gone. We've completely chipped it up. Our shed is much more organized. Which has been very nice. We chipped up the wood pile. So we have our trail now. Emily's calling it swamp block.
Swamp walk, yeah.
Swamp walk. Walk?
Walk.
Oh, that's the first time I knew what it was called. Little swamp block. Swamp walk. Okay. Haven't done much with this. It still looks pretty gross. We discovered all these random holes that keep showing up on the property are crawfish. We thought it was animal poop for a long time. But they show up everywhere in the swampy area. There's another one there. And there. Don't know the last time we showed the trench back here, but it's starting to heal from where we dug everywhere in the ground, and it's still flowing pretty good. Back there. But it's been doing its job. The ground around it is much drier than it ever was before. You couldn't even walk right here really without sinking, so it's definitely working as we had hoped. So we've cleaned up a bit in the back here, I think, since last time we filmed. Nothing crazy though. There's our fire pit. There's some sticks from the clearing. And we discovered these vines that are all over the property way up into the trees are actually grapes. Got some firewood finally. So yeah, this is the area we've been clearing over the past few weeks. It's clear basically all the way to the property line. It's hard to tell with the brush pile. And then we've opened it up to back there. We saw some minnows and a crawfish in here earlier. So there are definitely These little fish in the river. They're all over. I don't know if they're getting picked up on the camera or not. And then we have, I think, the world's largest brush pile. And these are the apple tree we had to take down. Like, it has just thorns all over it. It's so insane. They go through our shoes. They're like nails. Oh, cool. So yeah, those are the grapes that are growing on all these vines that we keep ripping out of the trees. They weren't there when we first started pulling them down. So yeah, there's the 2 big pine trees, which we couldn't even get to when we first bought the property. We've just opened all this up now. And then yeah, here's a good view of the brush pile. It's our nature fence. And then back over here is the road that we cut clear to the front of the property. So there's the van. So I think we're gonna pull the driveway just up through here. And then this is the area we've cleared for our future site of the workshop. So yeah, our next step is clearing the rest of the road out, getting rid of some of the stumps here. And then we have to do a little bit of trench work in 2 places and maybe put some culverts in the road. And then just buy tons of dirt and gravel to get it up here, and then empty our bank account on a concrete pad in the workshop. Give us an update.
I said I don't want to.
All right. This is going to be the final update forever.
No, it's not.
So, we are going to be extending our driveway to make it wider again. You can see where we have it marked. So we're going to add another 15 foot of width to this thing to make it easier to turn in on, since the road comes in here or down here. It just becomes a really sharp turn as it is right now. It's very scary in the dark in our van, and if we get anything bigger, it's going to be even more spooky. So we're going to extend that out, and then, as you can see that way, me and Emily have spent the entire summer clearing a roadway. And that's where we're going next. So our goal is to essentially continue this all the way back. I think you can probably see one of the orange markers back there and the big brush pile. So we're gonna get a culvert put in for the road here, since this is still a giant mud mess. We haven't actually found the real source of the spring, but it's somewhere in this vicinity. It's just all a mud mush.
Mud mush.
But we've dug it all out. This goes from here clear back into the river at the back of the other corner of the property. So it's definitely keeping a lot of water off the property, and it's been drying this area out a lot. We're gonna get another culvert put in right here where these flags are at.
And a ditch runs down the side.
Back there ties into our other trench that we've done, so me and Emily will hand dig it from that area all the way back. And then when the road's done, they're gonna put a ditch along the entire side of the road to essentially connect the up area to down here, just for extra drainage sake. And then back here, basically from like this tree to like the fence post to that wood pile to like the tree, and then these orange markers, we're gonna get this all a big, nice, big gravel pad. So it comes easy to pull in and out of our shop, which is gonna be right here in this big opening we've cleared. So we got the shop ordered. So as soon as the road's done, we're gonna have someone out here to do concrete and get us a concrete pad, and then the shop will go. The shop's gonna be huge. It's gonna be 24 feet by 50 feet with 13 high walls. So we'll be able to park the van or whatever else we want in the shop without any issues. It's gonna have a big 12 by 12 foot roll-up door on the front. Our next phase of the project is gonna be getting rid of this brush pile. It sounds like if we pay anyone to do it, it's gonna be almost $2,000. So me and Emily will probably just end up doing it ourselves with our little wood chipper over the winter. We think we'll eventually have the road come back this way and almost kind of loop around this wood pile here. So we're thinking this would be pretty cool to come around, and then you could pull and have like parking here. We're thinking like get like a nice RV parking spot right here for if we have friends and guests and family out here. They can, you know, pull up here. This could be a nice pad, and then like you could have the front facing the river over here, which would be really awesome once we get this all cleaned up. Yes, this area is nice and open now. It doesn't look like it is since there's the massive wood pile, but this is what me and Emily have been clearing for the past month or so. This is actually almost all the firewood we got from clearing all that whole area. The rest of it is just like tiny little sticks like that I think we're gonna have to mulch. We only had to cut down like 3 bigger sized trees over, I'd say like 6 inches. The rest was all just branches and this tiny little thicket stuff. So the way we ended up going with the road worked out really well. We had to knock down almost nothing big, which is super exciting. Let's see some other updates. Me and Emily got a quote to get a survey of the land done, since our survey is from 1983. And they wanted to charge us like $2,500 for a survey. So me and Emily, being the cheapskates that we are, we decided that we would buy a compass and a metal detector instead and try to go find out where our property line actually is, because to this point in time we've been assuming that it's essentially the river back here, and it's not. So if we come over this way, our original survey calls out a giant maple tree in the back, because that's how old that survey is. It's like written on a typewriter and scanned into the system. But this big maple tree right here is the corner of our lot officially. So we actually own across the river a little bit, and that maple tree's base is about 20 feet back over there. After fiddling with the compass for multiple attempts, I finally figured out how to actually use it. And based on our best guess, which was pretty rough, the property line essentially goes from the maple tree this way. So I'm essentially walking on our property line right now, which is a little weird. So we don't technically own that, but no one really I don't think is going to care if we occupy it. And it comes down here. Roughly to somewhere around here is a corner of our property. So from that tree over, not our property, that's our property. And then we started looking to see if we could see any stakes or anything around here, or irons to kind of get a definitive thing. We haven't found any. But as we were digging around, sadly, keeping a closer eye on everything on the property, we noticed that this house thing back here, which we can never figure out what it is, it's not listed in any tax records. As far as we can tell, it's not permitted. But it's someone's like old hunting cabin or something. They decided that it would be awesome to use the creek as a landfill. Look at all of this trash. I thought that orange ribbon back there was maybe a property line marker or something, but there's just garbage falling into the river. You can tell they made like a makeshift fence back here to catch it, and they've just been dumping crap off the side of the cliff here, and it's falling into the river. It's unreal. So me and Emily, we're gonna contact them. When we were trying to figure out what this house was behind us, we noticed that whoever currently owns it appears to have inherited it a couple of years ago. So we're thinking that they're not the ones responsible for this, but the previous owner was, and they might not even know it's back here. So before getting the county involved and everything, we're gonna try to contact them and maybe assist them in cleaning this up, because this is awful. But it's crazy. There's tires, there's like mattress frames, there's just tons of bottles and cans and just trash. And it's all the way up the hill, and I don't know how thick it is back there, but it's fallen into the river. It's a disaster. But maybe when we get the road back here, we can get a truck rented and load that up. But anyway, we were trying to follow the property line again after not finding any stakes. Oh, I don't know if I can get over there. Emily, I didn't bring my boots. Do you want to give the tour of over there? Basically, our compass led us across the river, and you will never believe what we found next.
Alright, so this tree on the corner is what our compass markings led us to. And we realized we needed to follow it across the river for the proper distance of the survey.
About 50 more feet.
About 50 more feet. So that led us across the stream to what used to be a really giant standing pine tree. You can see it toppled at some point. Still has rhododendrons growing out of it. They're nice and healthy and happy, but this tree, dead as can be. And so this was right about the area that we knew we were supposed to look for the iron. Didn't find the iron, but when you come around, and maybe the iron's still in there, we'd like to bring the metal detector over and check it out. There is the old fence post, complete with barbed wire on it. Hope you can see that, but clear at the top of this giant root ball. And then this giant tree goes for a long way. You can see the dead top of it over by the very edge of our property, bordering what we used to think was our neighbors that ran across the stream, but now we know that our property line actually extends quite a bit back on this side too. Hoping to get a professional survey done at some point. Quote was a little high, so it's not top priority. So we will see. Maybe I'll show you what it looks like on this side. So here's the tree. Toppled on top of this other tree. Snagging on everything. There's so many death vines. But that tree keeps going back that way, the dead one that toppled, and hangs across the river. So at some point, we will either figure out how to clear this up ourselves or hire someone. But we were thinking we'd like to get this cleared up, maybe put a little bridge across the stream, do some kind of deck situation on both sides, since we now have land on both. Oh yeah, maybe cut a nice big slab out of this tree and make it the bar top, just so we could say that that came from what was one of the original property line markers. Kind of neat.
Yeah, I think that's it for updates. We're pretty stoked to have the shop on the way. We dug that trench all the way from the front to the back of the property. So water's running off. It rained up here the other day and that thing was flowing so much. It's doing such a wonderful job. It moves so much water off the property. It's crazy. It's gonna be pretty cool. Definitely gonna put a brewery in the back for me. And then just, yeah, huge wood shop, metal shop space up front here. Room for the van to park in. So if we want to build out another van, we can do that in there and have the van inside and work in any condition, and just build furniture for our house. Or if we're building a school bus out here, a tiny house or whatever, we'll just have all the tools and places to work. It's going to be great.